We're back.
Yeah, we're back.
Um, Speaking of alcoholism, so one of the things that makes me so grateful for is to be able to write for a show that deals with alcoholism. And I have to say, the women that we work with on Mom, the actress Allison Janney is, we are so lucky. There's an incredible group of actors, and they're so kind, and we get to write about things that really matter and do it with humor. And, the show has been a huge gift for me personally, just to be able to be on a show that's so female heavy. We have such a strong female presence, and that we're dealing with addiction and recovery, and doing it very honestly, but also with humor. Hi, CBS Mom. I just saw CBS Mom tuned in.
Oh,
So
cool.
I was just plugging our show. Yeah, I love writing for Mom, and it's been a real gift.
Yeah, tell me a bit about Mom, because I don't think it aired here.
It hasn't aired there. So it's about a group. It's about a group of women who are all in sobriety, and the main characters, Allison Janney and Anna Faris, are mother and daughter. So they're both in sobriety, and it basically is, about living life in recovery, but it's also about these group of friends that probably otherwise might not have ever met, but they all became friends because they're all in the program together. And it's not preachy. It's literally just showing life as sober women and the ups and downs that come with it, but also that, the messiness of life, and relationships. And, but at the end of the day, they're on a path of staying sober. And we've dealt with so many issues on the show in terms of overdosing. We've had characters OD. We've had characters, leave AA, choose not to be sober. We've also had marriages, and we've had miscarriages. We deal with a lot of heavy stuff, but the key is we keep it, we find the humor, because you have to have a sense of humor even in the darkest of nights. I mean, even with what's going on in the world right now, I'm loving the humor that people are pulling out of themselves,
Right.
because I think humor is truly so healing, and it's so easy to get wrapped up in pain or feeling sorry for yourself or victimhood. And I think a sense of humor keeps you in a much more this is life on life's terms, and everybody's got their turn in the barrel, and sometimes it's your turn and sometimes it's my turn. And it's a great show. And what I love, it's not trying to get people to go to AA. It's not about forcing recovery down anyone's throat. It's about a group of friends and women, but they all just happen to be in recovery.
Was the show your idea, or was it offered to you?
No, it's created by Chuck Lorre and Gemma Baker. And Gemma and Eddie Gorodetsky, the three of them. Eddie and Chuck have been friends for a long time. They wrote on Dharma and Greg. They wrote on 2.5 Men, Big Bang, all that. And then Gemma, Chuck, and Eddie created the show. But I have I can relate to a lot of it because I'm in recovery and my mom's in recovery. And so I bring a lot of my own personal stories to the table. But yeah, but no, I did not create it.
No. But did they know about your story when they offered it?
Yeah. So I think it's one of the reasons why they brought me on the show, because they knew I had, my own personal experience. I mean, in the writer's room, it's nice to have people who are actually in recovery, just to keep, that's not a necessity. You don't have to be in AA to be a writer on the show. Most of them aren't. but it's nice to have a couple of us who are, just to keep it real, you know.
Was it easy for you in your own story to keep the humor?
You know, I had a lot of anger growing up. I had a lot of rage growing up in an alcoholic home, and I spent a lot of years in my youth angry and not having a sense of humor. And I think having a sense of humor about other things, but not about that. But I think that as I grew and like did a lot of soul searching of my own, and as I looked at my own flaws in life and my own, you know, issues, and especially when you become a mom, for me, with maturity came humor. You know, it's like with maturity and wisdom came a sense of humor about life in general, you know? And so I don't live in the past. And when I visit it, I try to visit it with a kind heart, you know, which is I feel is a, you know, it's, you know, there's no, nothing good for me comes from marinating in old resentments or anger or memories that don't serve me, you know. But I'm grateful for everything I've walked through, because everything I've been through in my life, good, bad, makes me who I am. And honestly, like, has, you know, I think that I can walk into pretty much any room and connect with somebody, whether it's a single mom, whether it's somebody who's been unemployed, whether it's somebody who grew up in an alcoholic home, whether it's somebody who is an alcoholic. Like, I think the more things I realize, more things I've walked through has made me connected better to people, because I can relate. I'm not like just going, oh, I can't imagine what that's like. It's like, no, I do know what that's like, you know?
Yeah. But do you think that confidence comes from Mr. Church, from telling you that you could be whatever you wanted?
Mr. Church, the real Mr. Church, without him, I think I would have literally, he was the only person when I was a kid that really made me feel seen and really made me feel heard, and made me feel pretty, and because I felt very insecure, very uncomfortable in my skin growing up. It's very low self-esteem. And I think that,
was it all in your head, or were you bullied, or
I think most of it was my own doing, my own head, like hating on me, you know? Because it's funny, you know, it's so funny, because I could say, well, you know, when I was in high school and stuff, like, I never had a boyfriend and blah, 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 blah. And I had this really low image of myself. And then I went to my high school reunion, like, a while ago. And people's memory of me is completely different of they were like, you were always so pretty, and you were always so sweet. And you were always smiling. And I'm like, God, in my mind, I was like this dark, ugly misfit. And so I realized, oh, wow, a lot of it was my own mind hating on myself, you know? But a lot of that was because I was living in a lot of chaos at home. And so you almost think everybody can see it, you know? Like, you know, like you almost like think you're wearing it on you. Like, everybody can tell that my house is dirty and my mom's drunk and you know, this and that. You think you actually are showing that, and you realize, no, it's all up in here. So most of my thoughts were my own worst enemy, you know?
And did you feel alone or at all?
Did I feel what?
Alone at that time?
Yeah,
because
I did. I mean, my sister, she and I fought terribly when we were little. We have the best relationship now, but we fought a lot. Mm-hmm. And she moved out of the house when I, you know, at a young age. And I think that added to me feeling alone, because then it was just me in the house with like the chaos. And what?
Did you feel abandoned when she left?
Yeah, I did. We definitely, like, healed all those wounds and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, I think I felt abandoned. But I also understood because I was like so angry and such a difficult personality in the house that I'm sure my sister wanted to get away from me because I was not fun to be around and my mom wasn't fun to be around. So I think she did what she needed to do to survive, you know?
Right.
And so she did the right thing. But at the time, yeah, I think I felt like, God, I don't have, you know, but I had really good friends, and the friends that I had growing up are the same friends I have today. I was so blessed with good group of friends, and they knew everything. And they were, and a lot of times, you know, I'd run away to their houses and, you know, Kathleen, you don't have to say you're sorry. My sister
Just a
just wrote,
thought.
I love you, Kathleen. You did the right thing. I was like the Tasmanian devil. Like I would like break windows in the house because I felt so out of control with my mom's drinking that I would have temper tantrums. So, but anyway, I'm rambling.
You felt you were seen by your mother, and your father was probably working too in the theater.
Well, my dad was in New York.
Okay.
Hi, Renee. I love you too. Renee, who just tuned in, she's one of my dearest best friends' mother. And I can tell you honestly, her house saved my life many a time. I would run away to Renee's house and stay there because it felt safe and it felt normal, you know? I think like with my friends, I felt like if I could just rub up against them, some of their normalness would wash over me and like maybe I'd be normal too because I felt like everybody else had like a normal home but me. You know?
Did you put it all in your writing at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I've written a lot about those things, and that's one of the reasons why like my poetry really was strong back then because I would write a lot of poetry about it and short stories, and writing saved me honestly. But like going back to the real Mr. Church, he would always tell me like, Susan, you can be anything you want. You can do anything you want. You're incredible. I see you. I love you. Like he was such a source of love and strength and like calmness and nurturing. So nurturing.
Did it counter your anger at that time?
Yeah. You know, he definitely, and you know, and then, you know, and he was, but he also never made me feel like a lot of times, like I think I felt I'd hate on myself for being so angry at my mom and the alcoholism and stuff. Then I'd hate on myself. Like, I'm so mean. I'm so mean. I'm so mean. And he never made me feel like shamed about being angry. Like he was gentle about it. Like, you know, he understood where sometimes, you know, I would lash out at my mom and if somebody saw, they'd go, God, you're so mean to your mom. And I don't want to go, but you don't understand. You don't understand, you know? So he never made me feel bad, like for being angry. He was very loving.
And he showed you books and
yeah. And he sewed clothing for my stuffed
your
animals.
dolls, right?
And my dolls. And he would paint all the time. I have paintings in my house that belong to him.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Is that in the movie? Him
yeah,
painting?
a couple of his paintings are in the movie. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That I hadn't seen in a while, so I wasn't sure.
I know, I gotta send you a DVD.
Oh yeah.
When we get off here, give me your address and I'll send you a DVD.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You're so sweet. I'm trying to let me see if I can find a picture of him so I could show people.
I think I had one on my Instagram page. The real person. Yeah.
Let me see if I can find one.
You know, it's so funny. My daughter was 2 when I wrote Mr. Church.
She never
met him. So in the movie, that was my way of them meeting, was in the movie. And so she was 2 when I wrote it. And when she was about 8 years old, the script, she had been hearing me trying to get this movie made, like her whole childhood. And when she was about 8 years old, the script was sitting on my desk, and I was upstairs doing something, and I came down and I found her sitting on the couch reading the script. And she was just sitting curled up in the corner of the couch reading the entire screenplay. And when it was over, she's like, I want to see this movie. And I was like, oh, honey. And it was the first time she'd ever read a script. And for an 8-year-old to sit and read a screenplay, I mean, I know producers who won't sit and read a screenplay from start to finish. Anyway, so the fact that the movie got made when she was older, there he is. There he is.
Oh, okay.
Isn't he beautiful? The fact that the movie got made when she was older was such a blessing, because in a weird way, she got to kind of grow up with him after all, because she heard me talk about him her whole life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And she still, you know, like we were in the kitchen cooking. I have a picture of him in my kitchen. I keep it in my kitchen. And we were in the kitchen cooking the other day, and he always said, you know, don't forget to clean as you cook. That was like his big thing. Like, always clean while you're cooking so you're not left with this enormous mess. So we're like in the kitchen. I'm like, don't forget to clean while you're cooking. And she's like, I know, Mr. Church.
But so he gave you books to read. He believed in you, and that changed you completely, right?
It was, yeah. I mean, I honestly say, like, he was just, you know, he was in my life from the time I was 4 until he died, which I was around 24 years old. And those are such, because my dad lived in New York,
Mm-hmm.
and because I did not have a my stepfather I did not have a good stepfather relationship. He was like the male figure in my life, you know, on a regular basis. And to have like a positive, kind, loving, generous male figure, I also think it played a huge part in my relationships to men. Like, who, you know, it was nice to have somebody so positive in my life, you know, like that, who was kind and trustworthy and just decent. He was super decent. So yeah.
So, and did he know that you wanted to write a story about him?
No, but he knew I became a writer. I mean, he knew, like, he saw me he got to see me go to college, and he knew I was studying writing, and
Right.
and I, you know, he knew everything, you know, and but I believe wherever he is, he knows that.
What year did he die?
What?
In what year did he die?
He died, let's see, like 20 years, no, 18 years ago?
18 years ago?
19. No, 20, because it was a couple years before Hannah. So, yeah.
So, around 99, 2000, maybe?
Wait a minute. I'm off on my years. Let's see. How old am I? I'm trying not to say how old I am. No, I don't care.
Oh.
He died, I think it was like 24 years ago, actually.
Oh, okay. So,
yeah,
late 90s.
Yeah, that's when. Yeah.
Okay. So, and you wrote the story in what year?
2004.
So that would be the first draft, right?
Yeah, because Hannah was like 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the draft that you called the vomit draft or something?
Well, yeah, I mean, I always say my first draft of anything, and a lot of writers say this, is your vomit draft, where you're just like, here it is. I'm just throwing it up and getting it on the page. I'm not going to like criticize it, edit it. I'm just going to get that initial draft. And then, you know, and my first draft of Mr. Church ended up being almost exactly the draft that we shot. So it was a rare occurrence. I mean, we ended up, once we were in pre-production, we did some rewriting and things got changed and stuff. But for the most part, the core of the movie and the main stuff stayed the same. It was a rare thing, because usually your vomit draft is just the vomit draft. But it was, so I always say, I feel like
were were you involved with the movie,
Oh, every
the
step,
writing, the rewriting?
everything. In fact, Bruce Beresford, I was so lucky because like he didn't rewrite a word of my dialogue. If he had anything to change, he asked me to change it. I was on the set all the time. I was in post. I was
Mm-hmm.
so involved. I was spoiled, because that
A lot
doesn't
of,
always happen.
yeah, they complain about that.
Yeah. Like, as for example, like, I think the reason partly why, I'm sorry, I'm trying to, my arm was getting stiff because I'm balancing the iPad. Part of the reason I think that I was involved was obviously because it was such a personal story.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say, like, even Eddie Murphy said, I've never been on a movie project where the script that I read is the script we shot. And he loved it. He loved that. He said, I love that I'm not getting new pages every day and that I'm not being, like, he goes, it's so rare because usually, once a script gets the green light, the first person they kick aside is the writer. And then all
Right.
these changes happen and, and a lot of times that doesn't always end up working out,
Yeah. Sometimes it turns
Yeah.
into a whole new movie.
Yeah. Yeah. So the whole making of the movie from start to finish was just like so lovely. Everybody just really respected everybody's job. You're the actor, you're the director, you're the writer, no, let's not try to do each other's jobs,
Right. So, and after that, the movie you went into Mom right away, or did you
I
do
was already
another
on Mom.
show?
I was already
I think
doing
you did
Mom.
Californication, right?
No, that was Californication. I did long before. I think what year was that? I was in the first season of Californication, and that
Okay.
was right. But Mom, the making of Mr. Church was happening while I was on Mom, and everybody at Mom was really sweet because they let me like, juggle like both
Mm-hmm.
jobs. So that was great.
Did you think you could turn Mr. Church into a series?
Shall we? No. I don't know. Maybe. I hadn't thought of that. I suppose you could, but
Because
I
so
don't
many
know.
people haven't seen the movie yet, so
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
maybe you should pitch it.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's an idea, but you should do the book for sure.
I should do the book for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
so,
now, right now, everybody, we had 2 more episodes of Mom to shoot, and then everything got shut down. So we ended our season a little early. So, which is weird, So we all kind of like we didn't get to say goodbye to each other. It was weird. It was like we left on a Friday and that was it. But yesterday I had lunch with a lot of the writers.
You think you still will
on
finish
Zoom?
the
We
season?
all got together on Zoom and had lunch together, and that was really nice.
Do you still think you're gonna finish the season, or
What?
do you still think you're gonna finish the season?
No, I
Or-
think we're
or
done.
is it-
Like, I mean,
Okay.
we only had 2 more episodes left to shoot, and I think we just maybe we'll use them for next season. We have another season of Mom, so we'll carry it over when we get to go back to work, I think. So yeah.
Cool.
And right now I'm just trying to read, and I'm actually working on another script, but
Can you
just
tell?
trying to. It's a pilot that I wrote that I'm working on, and that's all I can tell.
Do you still want to do a comedy
More
with
will be-
Eddie?
I would love to do something else with Eddie. And we actually talked about doing a comedy because after both of us doing like crying our eyes out together, we were like, we need to do a comedy after this.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I just got to think of one.
And I think you will love to do another movie where the script doesn't get changed. I think
I
that's
know.
one of the reasons why he stayed away these past years.
That's why I think Dolomite, he had such a good experience because he was like in control of a lot of it.
Yeah, that was such a great project for him.
I know. I know.
I think he has a contract with Netflix now, so he can do more comedy stuff.
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I'm so happy that he's like out and about again, you know? Because when we worked together on Mr. Church, he hadn't done anything in years. Like, and I remember like being on the set, and his stand-in was like so happy. He's like, "Oh my God, it feels so good to be back," because they had been, and it's his stand-in is like the same stand-in he's worked with for like 30 years, and so he said it was really nice to be back at work, you know, because if Eddie's not working, they're not working. So,
of course.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to return to stand-up?
Yes.
One day?
Yeah.
Right. So I have a couple of questions that people send in. And one is, what is the one thing you would love to tell somebody that you miss?
Oh. Well, that would be my dad. And I would want to tell him that we're all doing okay, and that I know he's with us all the time, and that not a day goes by that I don't think about him, and that I'm constantly reminded of him through not just my own thoughts and memories, but people I run into always say kind words about my dad. So
that's great. And would you want to say something to Mr. Church as well?
Well, I talk to Mr. Church all the time. Yeah, I would say, you know, I think he knows everything I would want to say to him, but I basically, you know, I love you, and that I'm so glad that the world got to see a little window of who you are, and that you're touching other people's lives the way you touch mine.
Okay. So another question is, tell me your biggest challenges as a mother.
Oh, not worrying about the world and, like, you know, how it will affect, you know, you worry, you know, I guess the biggest challenge is just letting them be their own person and trusting their own choices, and, you know, letting them go. I mean, honestly, the moment you give birth, it's a constant process of letting them go. And it's hard because my daughter is like everything to me, and we're so close. And now she's graduating high school. She's going to be leaving for college, and it's crazy to think, but I also know she's an amazing person. She's her own person. And she's kind, and she's funny, and she's wise. And but I think the hardest part of being a mom is just like letting them have to walk through life on life's terms, and you can't fix everything for them, and they're going to have their own experiences, good, bad, and all you can do is love them, you know, but you can't always fix everything to make everything so perfect, you know.
And you're such a great mom, and I love the story you wrote about in your column about going with your daughter to see Pink.
That was her first concert, and oh my God, we love Pink. I got to meet her, which was amazing.
Did you?
I did, because my friend is friends with her, and he knew I was like, both Hannah and I are just huge Pink fans, and she happened to be on the Warner Brothers lot one day, and he got me to he introduced me to her, and she was as sweet and as fabulous as you would want her to be. And but yeah, going to her concert, I loved that experience with my daughter. We went to
great person.
Both of them. Hi, Tammy. My best friend Tammy just joined us.
And you have a musician in the family, Derek, right?
I do. My Dagster.
He has a great band.
He does. Dag Experience. You could follow him.
Yeah.
And
did they do just David Bowie covers?
He did, I have to plug my thing in. My juice is getting low, so hold on.
Okay.
He is, he joined, he sang with a guy named Julian who does David Bowie covers, but Derek's music is all original. Hold on.
Oh.
Okay, there we go. Derek's music's all original. He's incredible. He writes.
He's a great performer. I love
he's
him.
a great performer. Yes, and I miss seeing him play live right now because he was just starting to play live with his band when all this happened. But if you check out his Instagram page, Dag Experience, but also his website, Dag, I think it's dagmusic.net or something. You can hear some of his music, but yeah, he's super talented, and we're very lucky to have music in our home a lot, so that's nice.
It's going to be tough for musicians as well going forward.
Yes, I know. I want to, while we're home, one of his songs that everybody loves, it's called Maniac.
Mm-hmm.
I want to like shoot a music video of it while we're home and maybe post that. Like, so just like, because we don't have any music videos of any of his songs. And I was like, well, we could use this time to make a music video.
Exactly.
Why not?
Let's get creative right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, he could film a concert in his home. That's
true. We're actually, one of these days we're going to do a musical together, write a musical. We've been working on this idea for a long time. But where I would write the book and all the music would be his music. So that's the one that's the one goal on my list that eventually we're going to get to, because we have this great idea for a musical, and we have all the music. I just have to sit my butt down and write it.
Have you ever tried writing music lyrics before?
Only once. I wrote one song. I actually wrote one song. Derek actually played it. I wrote a song called Watching You. And it was about, it's for people it's for mothers or fathers who have lost a child. And it's a ballad.
Mm-hmm.
But I wrote it as a poem and then turned it into a song.
See, you should share these things.
I know.
Yeah.
I will.
Okay. So another question, and this just shows how people see you just as a kind-hearted person. Someone is asking for self-care tips.
Self-care tips. Well, that's really good. First of all, I go to bed at night now I go on YouTube and play meditation music to help me sleep a little bit, just something quiet and calm, which has really been helpful because my brain goes when I get into bed. So I wake up in the morning and I do a gratitude list of things I'm grateful for. And I also do a list of things that I did well the night before. Like, I try to list 3 things that I'm grateful for and 3 things that I did well. So like, I'm grateful for, that I have a roof over our head, that we're healthy, that I'm grateful for coffee, things like that. And then a did well will be things like, a did well is I exercised, or I donated money to somebody, or I did all the laundry. So I try to do those lists because the gratitude list always helps me get into a place of gratitude, which, to immediately wake up and focus on the positive. But the did well is also a way to because sometimes I'll beat up on myself like I didn't do enough. Like, oh, I should have done this and I didn't get this done. And, we're such critics of ourselves and we always think like we're not doing enough. So the did well list is a way of saying, no, you did okay. You did good things and be kind, So, and then as far as, I try to, walk. Self-care. I'd go outside, get some vitamin D, from the sun. And, I I try to eat right and all those kinds of things, you know. Those are my self-care. But really it's about more of the inside self-care, because I think like the more inside job you do, the more it reflects on the outside.
Of course. So, and I wanted to ask you, we've mentioned this before, but how do you see things going, not just for writers, but for actors going further down the line?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens after all this, you know, because I mean, everything's at a halt right now, right? Mm-hmm. But we are going to come out of this, and you know, work will start up. I think that, you know, a lot of people are using this time to be really creative and find ways to have outlets for themselves. Obviously it'll be interesting what scripts come out of this whole experience, you know, but, I feel like we're in honestly, it's an amazing time to be a writer and an actor, because I think there's so many choices and so many places now, like with all the streaming and I mean, even this, like, you know, Instagram, there are people that just are on Instagram telling their stories and stuff. I mean, there's so many ways now to get out there, where, I mean, when I was not working in 2008, when that whole thing happened, it was because there was so much reality TV and not enough, everything was coming to kind of like a halt when it came to scripted shows, and everything was about reality TV. Mm-hmm. And so for me, not being a reality TV writer, there wasn't a lot of jobs. So, but now there are so many more jobs, and I do think that, you know, so many more production companies, women production companies, minorities, you know, it's just like, I don't know. I think we're headed in a really good direction in terms of art and outlet.
And how do you see opportunities going for women in terms of writing, acting, everything?
I mean, I think it's a really good time to be a woman. You know, I actually, I mean, my brother-in-law, who's a writer, mm-hmm. and very talented writer director, who actually wrote on Smallville, which
awesome.
You know, yeah.
No, I love it.
But you know, he's a white male in his 50s. This is not a good time for his group. You know, it's a really good time for women, or, you know, people of, you know, different backgrounds and different, you know, countries, and like, you know, I mean, but so for right now, for me, I think, you know, as a woman, I'm really proud of all the women who are, you know, like, I love all the projects that are coming forward, all the you're seeing more women writers in the writer's room. And although I have to say, like, on Chuck's shows, on our show, we've always had a lot of women writers. So, mm-hmm. But yeah.
That's great. Someone asked, how does a writer's room work?
Oh, wow. Well, they're so different, but like on Chuck's show, you know, because every writer's room is different, but some writer's rooms, you literally, you get your writing, you go home and you write your script, or you go to your office and you write your script. On Chuck's shows, we all write as a group. So we're like 10 writers in the writer's room. We break the stories as a group, and then we split up into 2 groups, and we write as a group, basically 5 of us in one room and 5 in another, and we're both working on scripts, but you're writing the scripts together. And so that's how Chuck, our show, works. But like, I've also been on a show like on Californication, where we broke a story, and then I was assigned the script, and then I would just go off and write the script. So every writer's room is a little different, but I do love the way we work on Chuck's shows, because it's very collaborative, and there's a lot of laughter, and it's, you know, it's not as lonely, because writing can be so lonely. So it's nice that you're in a room with a bunch of people writing. But I have to say, like, when it comes to me writing my own stuff, like when I'm working on a screenplay, or I love writing alone. So I'm glad I have the balance of both. Like I have the group of writers on Mom, and then I can go home or go to a coffee shop and sit and just write my own stuff too. So I like having both.
Okay. So, and the next question is a loaded one. Do you think we'll ever see a woman president?
God, I hope so. And yes, I do. I do. I don't want to say no. How can we live? Why should we live with no hope? We've got to, you know? I mean, we never thought we'd see an African American president. And
of course.
Oh my God, and I miss him every day. I mean, I miss President Obama every single day. I mean, I'm just saying that, like, I don't know how we went from Obama to what we have now. I mean, I guess we were naive. We thought we were farther along than we were. At least I was naive. I thought we were farther along than we were. But I absolutely, you know, believe we will have a woman president. I think we'll have a gay president. I want to believe that too. I want to believe we'll have, you know, a Jewish president someday. Like I want to believe in all that, because the alternative is to not, and that's negative, you know? Yes, we're past due, Rizzo. We are.
So last question. How do you want to be remembered?
Oh, that's a good question. I want to be remembered. You know what? I just want to be remembered.
That's a great answer too. If they just remember us.
Yeah.
So Susan, thank you so much for joining me for this.
Thank you. It was so nice talking to you and getting to know you. I mean, you're as sweet and kind as you are on the flat screen of my iPad. Like, seeing you come to life has just been so fantastic.
As are you. This was such an honor, and it was a beautiful time to spend with you.
Thank you. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Thank you so much.
Stay healthy.
You too, and we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Stay safe.
You too.